Cammy in the corner. That's a direct order. Do it now.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We are Roll Call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. Today is Thursday, August the 22nd. And we missed you guys on last week, and we're back with you on this week. I'm trying to find my stuff, but I don't have it sitting in front of me. So I'm going to just ask that Cheech will give us our disclaimer and Melba will give us our statement of purpose. Then I'll go into it.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being with us. Before we get started, we just wanted to go over a couple of things. First of all, want to let you know that the comments and expressed concerns made by members of Roll Call are the opinions of each individual. They are not intended to be legal recommendation or suggestions for our listeners. Remember that the laws change from are different from village to village, town to town, city to city, state to state. So please consult with your local police department or a local attorney for any advice. Also, once in a while, we will display graphic videos or photographs. They are integral to spark conversations and discussions for our group. These are not the property of Roll Call. They're not intended to offend anybody. We get them from social media, just like you would, like YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all that good stuff. And remember, we'll give you notice if we are going to play one of these videos. Also, the language used by members of Roll Call is very spontaneous. It is uncensored. It is not intended to offend anybody. Everyone here on the panel speaks from the heart. We speak our truth. You will see that sometimes we don't agree on things, but we don't get mad at each other. We respect each other's different opinions, and I hope you all understand that. And that's it.
Okay, Melba, you up.
Melba?
I'm up. Okay. So you guys know we are Roll Call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. We have 4 basic tenets. We are pro law enforcement. We are anti-racism. We believe in equitable policing. Oh, I flubbed that. Equitable policing and Black Lives Matter. That's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Listen, we're Roll Call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. I'm here with a few of my friends. I finally got some of my stuff together. We got D Schoon with us. We got Melba with us. We got Rich with us. We got Dave with us. We got JT. We got Jerry. We got Kyle. We got Cheech. We got AC, and we got Derek. And D Schoon's going to lead us today because I'm still vacationing. I'll be catching up with you guys real soon. But I thank you guys for joining us each every week. We're praying for Tyrone Green. We're praying for Cheech. We're praying for Reg. We're praying for all those that are going through sickness and illness. Pray for my family. I lost my first cousin, Archer Noel, who's more like an aunt to me. Her and my mother the same age, but we grew up with her children. Derek know them very well. They moved in with us when I was about 10 years old. And it's just a sad time. And I don't know when the funeral services are going to be, but I've been requested to do that service, and that's going to be in Georgia. So I'm going to be in Georgia. I don't know when, but you guys pray for us, pray for me. One thing I'd have to say is that for me, y'all know me. My thing is that I'm just glad she had a relationship with the Lord. You know, everyone's going to have to leave this place one day, but I just pray that when it's your time to go, that you're ready to meet your maker. So we do have a show set up in front of us. D is going to lead us and I'll discuss. JT, I see JT.
Yeah, I got some sad news too. I didn't forget to say it. I wasn't going to say it, but my goddaughter passed away on the 19th, I believe it was. Her and I were born on the same birthday. Me and her father used to work together, play softball together. It was on Facebook. Her name is Shelly Garcia. She was very, how can I say, very level-headed. She wanted to do something, and she's doing it. She wanted to be a nurse. She's doing it. She had a daughter, but she was doing her thing before she passed away. I haven't spoken to her parents because I'm unable to get in contact with them, but just wanted to bring that up to you.
JT,
Yeah.
you have our condolences as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anytime you lose anyone, it's a sad time. And I'm not being facetious right now, but when you even lose a pet, it feels like you lost a loved one. So you know, death is really serious, and I take it serious. And definitely when someone requests for prayers, we're gonna pray for them. So thank you so much. Now, if anyone can share this on our Zoom, a roll call, Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. If you do that, I should be able to share it as well and put it on out there for a little bit more. I'm just trying to do what I can do. But in the meantime, we're gonna turn it over to happy birthday to D Schoon. I forgot that. Happy birthday, D Schoon. Happy birthday to wife Joan. And then thank you guys for those who were able to put in the video. I sent it to our chat so you can look at it. Very nice video. Thank you for being involved with that, and keep praying one for another. All right, D, it's in your hands.
All right. Just something I want to say since we started. I got a bunch of and I don't have any biological children, so when I say my kids, it's probably about 62 of them right now that I've had something to do with. They ain't now not biologically. I'm not gonna stand up on a yanla. But
I saw that episode.
the reason I wanted to bring that up is because I just started thinking my birthday came up. How many of them became police officers? How many of the babies that we've come into contact with and had a little something to do with, or a lot of something to do with? And I just had 2 yesterday become court officers, New York State court officers. I have about 8 or 9 that became state troopers. So I'd like to, I don't want to mention their names. I got to get them to sign off before I holler them out. But I'd like since we're a roll call group, and we all have children. I know Melba's always talking about children, and Jerry's always talking about going to get her children. And let's shout out what they're doing. They're the next generation. That's what's going to be responsible for us through the next bunch of years. But I want to take that opportunity just to shout them out. Okay. Mark just showed up. So, hey, Mark, good to see you. We're doing a little different today because we haven't been able to get on Facebook. So we're not going to have the live feed. If Don's able to get us on the live feed, if anybody can share, I can't. He won't let me share to my Facebook. But if you can get it on Facebook, let us know. And then we'll try to share it from there. And maybe Don can share it on the roll call from there. Or he said something about YouTube also. So we know what's going to happen when it gets shared on YouTube. It's going to be a whole different situation. So we had some conversation about some of the videos we wanted to share this week. If anybody has anything, just send me a message or let me know, especially our guys in the room. We'll see if we can get some information and share some stuff. The first video I wanted to share, we shared a video a couple of weeks ago about a woman who shot through her door at another at African American woman. It was a white woman that shot through the door at an African American woman because she was there was some kind of neighborhood. Now we all go through our neighborhood things, so it was some kind of neighborhood dispute that they had. But she thought at one point she would shoot through the door and end up killing the woman. And her trial was recently about I guess a week ago, and she was found guilty. So I just want to share that video, spark some discussion.
Ultralight wheeled cooler. I hauled it on deck, I hauled it down.
No commercials.
And locked negated some of that imminency, and I think that's how we got to this. Now, in terms of race, a lot of the racial epithets and
YouTube is doing its own thing.
Ocala, Florida, where a jury has reached a guilty verdict in the manslaughter trial of Susan Lawrence. Lawrence, who is a white woman, was charged with first-degree felony manslaughter for fatally shooting her black neighbor, Ajike Owens. Lawrence allegedly shot Owens through a closed door after a dispute over children playing near her home. Let's listen to the verdict read just moments ago.
Verdict as to count one. We, the jury, find as to count one of the charge. The defendant is guilty of manslaughter. Did the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt that during the commission of the offense, the defendant personally used a firearm? Yes. So say we all, dated the 16th day of August, 2024.
There it is, the verdict. For more, let's bring in trial attorney and our legal contributor, Brian Buckmeyer. So, Brian, she was never charged for murder in this case, found guilty now of felony manslaughter. Why no murder charge?
Yeah, so Terry, that's a big contention in this case when the prosecutors brought charges. The easiest thing that I can surmise in what the prosecutors told us is that they did not have the requisite information to prove the mens rea, as attorneys call it, or the guilty mind. The difference between murder and manslaughter, at least in these charges in Florida, would be that murder, the prosecution would have to show that without premeditation, that she showed reckless disregard for her human life. Some people say, yeah, shooting through a closed door does that, but the prosecutors didn't think they had enough, but they did have enough, clearly, for a manslaughter charge.
And, how did the jury reach this verdict? What is the key evidence in this case? And does it, given the racial component here, does it make a statement at all about safety and about all of those issues?
Yeah, so this was a self-defense case through and through. And we heard a lot about the Castle Doctrine because Susan Lawrence is inside of her home when she discharged that firearm. But I think the issue that really turned this case for the prosecution was that of imminency. Because an individual can use deadly force to protect themselves, especially in their home, and they reasonably believe that they may be subjected to death or serious injury. But the fact that that door was in between them, deadbolted and locked, negated some of that imminency. And I think that's how we got to this. Now, in terms of race, a lot of the racial epithets and curse words and arguments that Susan Lawrence was accused of but didn't come into the trial wasn't brought before the jury. So I think the race was there in the backdrop, but not so much in the forefront. But that could change come sentencing.
Well, let me ask you about that. So that's very interesting. That kind of evidence that was considered, I guess, too prejudicial for the jury to hear can now be brought into a possible sentence for Lawrence. What kind of sentence does she face?
Yes, so Terry, manslaughter in the first degree, she faces up to 30 years in prison or 30 years of probation. And when I say that, I actually mean there is no bottom. So she could technically do 1 year of probation, or she could do 30 years of prison. Now, this is a 59-year-old woman, so 10, 15, 20 years, that could be the equivalent of a life sentence. And as I said, those racial epithets that she's accused of using against young children, that of A.J. Owens, could come in at sentencing and could amount to a higher jail sentence, or prison sentence, for her.
Yeah, such a disturbing case. The jury reaching a guilty verdict in it. Brian Buckmeyer, as always on these matters. Thanks very much.
Okay, we're back. Just a couple of things, and I'm going to ask for Kyle to help me out a little bit because I think a lot of people don't understand the levels of homicide in the law. A lot of people just think you kill somebody, why not murder? And there's so many different levels of not only murder but manslaughter in the penal law that you can be charged with. And I think it's important that people understand just that, oh, I didn't mean to do it. Stop living that thing. I didn't mean to do it. So if there's some action that you take, and no matter how well-meaning it is, and it results in someone's demise, you could be facing this woman 30 years. And just one more thing I wanted to say. They said 30 years jail sentence or 30 years probation. And you go, why is such a big disparity? And that's my conversation to my babies about what you do in your past starts to matter. Something like this comes up. Now what you have done, the mistakes that you thought were not big deal that come up in your past, now is the difference between 30 years prison and 30 years probation or parole or some kind of supervisory. JT, what do you got?
Yeah, I got a little confused. I don't want to say who was what, but the white lady shot into an apartment
No, outside of her apartment.
Out. She shot out of her apartment through her door.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just to give a little explanation again, it was a couple of weeks ago we did play this. They've been having a little neighborhood dispute. Apparently the kids, kids, they have balls thrown, rocks thrown, whatever, and it either bled onto this woman's property outside, or the noise bothered her. She had a few disagreements with not only the mom but the children, to where there were racial epithets, some bad language, and then the mom, I guess something happened with a phone or an iPad. I'm trying to remember if somebody remembers. I know at AC you got something. Something happened with a device, and the mom said, "Oh, I got to go over there and handle business." And that's AC. What do you got? I know you had a little bit. You probably remember more than I do.
Well, no, I had a question in reference to the report. I'm doing my thing like this, so I can't raise my hand digitally.
I got you.
Well, the report, they mentioned that she may get a life sentence. She had 30 years. The person she killed got a life sentence too.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There
Person
you have
she
it.
killed. Death.
There you have it. Yeah, it seems so many times people do something and afterwards everybody's, I don't know why I should do time. This person's dead. That should be where we should start it. I just think I'm harsh that way. I think you should start at life and then we start adding on years. I like those double life. Or what's that guy in Minnesota that drove? He got 700 years and then 7 life sentences. That's where you should start. That's just me. That's just me. Anybody else got anything?
Yeah, I just got something. They wanted murder. I think Kyle might back me and she might not, but I still love her. Anyhow, there was no intent to kill that person. That's the only thing I think that might not get her a murder charge. If she had been face to face, she had his intent. You see her standing there, you shoot right at her. She shot through the door. She didn't know what the hell she was going to hit.
Right. What you got, Rich?
Yeah, I was just wondering whether a hate crime will come into play. I mean, I know she's guilty of manslaughter, but I think it would, bring it up a level if there's hate crime involved. I don't know the verbiage of how racial she was about the kids and this and that, but that could be a factor in her sentencing based on hate crimes. Oh, I mean, I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah,
Well,
I think. Go ahead.
I think if there was an intent, if she knew that was a black person on the other side of the door, she might be intent. But she could have hit a white girl.
Knew.
But she said a bunch of racial epithets. Is what I
Yeah,
what
but
I
that
heard.
goes along with the neighborhood. That doesn't go along with what you see. Suppose that bullet had hit a white girl.
Well, yeah, we're talking about. I'm assuming black kids that were having their toys or balls in her yard, and they were going to her yard. Said she made some racial statements about them. I think that's hate crime worthy, or at least to look at it.
Some black kids have white mamas.
Yeah. Matter of fact.
Well, still, it's what she said, not about who it was. It's what she said, right?
Yeah, but if she said black motherfuckers and shot a white motherfucker, then what?
But that's not the case. The case is she shot a black person. And if she was talking about black kids, being little niggas coming into her yard, just keep them out, then that's a problem.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but you don't know these courts.
Okay.
It isn't Florida.
Okay, Cheech, what you got, Cheech?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, for our audience, and I'm sure Kyle would agree on this, that, murder charges is very hard to prove premeditation. What I wanted to add to that is that there are people, and I'm saying it because here personally on this Nextdoor Neighbor app, people talk about, when somebody posts about somebody was in their yard or this and that, let them come to my house. I got a 12 gauge. And, they insinuate that if you go on their property, they're going to shoot you just for going on their property. Now, that can come back and bite you, because if something really happens, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, that would be premeditation because you already have the intent of anybody coming on your property to shoot and kill them, you know, or at least to shoot them and do bodily harm. But I hope it's a lesson learned for people out there that have this mentality nowadays that, you know, that you can just shoot anybody for just coming onto your property. They're not even a threat. You know, it's gotten ridiculous to the level that people are taking this, you know, what to stand your ground. You know, I understand if you're in immediate danger and you have to protect yourself if you or someone else is in immediate danger. But if you're not in danger and you can retreat or you're behind something, there's no danger, you know, and you shouldn't have to rely to violence right away or something like that. So I hope it's a lesson learned for everybody out there.
Absolutely. Kyle, we waiting on you. We need that legal mind.
Well, I hope I shed a little light. I think, you know, based on the video, the reporter explained that race was not in the case. The jury never heard any of the derogatory and racial language that this woman used between her and the kids, or her and the deceased and the child and the mother. So that wasn't part of the case. So there's no basis then for any kind of hate crime. I mean, the prosecutor didn't charge it that way, and therefore introducing it, the judge, I guess, felt that it was too prejudicial to introduce it. If they have a particular hate crime charge connected with murder, or it would have elevated it in some way to connect the hate crime in Florida, I don't know the laws there, then the prosecutor would have had a better argument to bring that language in, because that's the basis of the hate crime, the language, you know, what was said between these two families. However, it wasn't charged that way for whatever reason. I don't even know if they have that charge in Florida, something that's similar to what we would charge here in New York, if they had that option. And the judge just didn't allow that kind of language to be brought out, and that whatever, you know, was going on between them racially. So it wasn't part of the case. And, you know, typically the prosecutors will charge, you know, what they believe that they can prove. Yeah. You're not bringing a charge that you think is weak, or you don't have sufficient evidence to prove. That's not what you want to do. So they probably went with, you know, based on what they had, was the best thing. Intent is, we're talking about premeditation and all that. Intent is a very difficult concept for juries. And it is something that a good prosecutor will start to incorporate the definition of and examples of from the time that they are selecting the jury. And they will use examples to try to explain exactly what intent means, because most people think that it has to be some long drawn out plan and premeditation, but really intent can be done in an instant. You know, you use the example of, you know, you see you're driving and the light changes from yellow to red. I'm sorry, from green to yellow. And then you see the yellow and you put your foot on the gate. Right at that point, you're intending to drive through that yellow light to make the light. That's your intent that you decided or came to in a second. So it doesn't have to be this, you know, week-long plan, or you had a to-do list. It doesn't have to be that kind of. That's not the burden. That's not what we rely on in the law. But it's a very difficult concept for people to get hold of and to understand. So that oftentimes will dictate, well, it should dictate the charges, you know, based on what you can prove and what evidence you can bring out, because it's inherent in any charge that the person intentionally, knowingly did whatever act. So it is a difficult thing. And I mean, I don't know how they came to this in Florida, what evidence they had, but typically a prosecutor will bring the strongest charge that they think they can prove, and not those that they can't, because then they may be left with with nothing, or you want to give the jury the charge, that the strongest charge that you think you can prove, and then any ancillary or lesser charges that would go along with that. So intent is a very difficult concept for the jury, and that may be why the prosecutor did what they did. But all the racial stuff, that wasn't part of this case. The other thing is that, as I remember it, it was an iPad that the kids had. She chased the kids out, or they ran to the house and left their iPad in the yard, in the adjoining yard, and the woman picked up the iPad, and that's what prompted the woman to come back. The kids went to get their iPad, she wouldn't give it back, and that's how this confrontation happened. That's what I remembered anyway. It wasn't part of this video, but that's what I remember.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, Mark, you had your hand up, and then you put it down. What do you got? Uh-oh, got to unmute. There you go.
Yeah, I was just basically going to say pretty much what Kyle said. Basically a lot of people, a lot of civilians don't understand the law, and there's particular things that you need to address before you can make that charge. So, she pretty much covered it. So I'm done.
I got you. Derek, what you got?
Yep, and I'm of the same mindset as Mark. A lot of what I was thinking, Kyle said, and also she said that we don't exactly know how the laws are written in Florida. From state to state, things differ. And, obviously, us being former law enforcement, we know that they try to charge with the highest charge possible. So if they thought it was murder, it would have been, if they would have charged with, if they thought they could prove murder, they would have charged with murder. Now, obviously, we know what it was. The lady knew who she was dealing with on the other side of the door, because it was an ongoing problem between the two parties, but it's what they can prove. We know what her intent is, but it's what they could prove.
Absolutely. Dave,
and I'd also like to say, and obviously this is off topic a little bit, but the weekend before last, we had a great time, and we obviously missed a few people. Kyle, JT, and D weren't able to make it, but we did get to meet Melva finally, or I got to meet her finally, because plenty of people know her, and got to meet Dave, and it was a great time. And Rich, we missed you as well, but it would be great if all of us could make it one year, and that would be outstanding. But we had a great time, and those of you that we didn't get to see and or haven't met yet, we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Derek.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And one of the people that were there and made a big showing. Go ahead, Dave. What you got?
Oh,
your head up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, with the iPad and all that, the lady knew exactly who was gonna be coming to her door. She knew that woman was gonna come over to that house, so she came to the door with that pistol. Okay, now in Florida, you're not gonna get that many hate crime charges down there. You're not. Let's think about what state we're talking about here. See, you're not gonna get that there. It has to really be like, on camera, somebody saying N-word, and blasting you right on camera. You're not going to get it there, man, in that state. You're not going to get it in Alabama. You're not going to get it in Mississippi. You're not going to get it in Arkansas, or none of those hick states, unless there's really something there that they can't push it aside. You're not, or the feds have to come in and get it themselves. Okay? You're not going to get it. But that lady knew exactly who was coming to her door. Nobody else, nobody down the block, nobody from 7-Eleven, nobody getting Skittles at 7-Eleven, nobody at Walmart coming by accident, dropping groceries. She knew exactly who was going to be coming to her door. And she came to that door with that pistol. Okay, she knew who exactly was out there. And that was it. Now, down there proving charges, man, I'm still pissed off about some of our so-called black leaders going down to the, what's the young man that got killed with a bag of Skittles by Zimmerman? Okay. They should have never charged. They should have never went for murder one. okay, for that case. They should have went for manslaughter because the 911 operator told Zimmerman to stay his ass in the car, okay, and not go looking for the guy, wait for the police to get there. You got manslaughter right there because there's no witnesses. But you're not going to get murder without real witnesses down in that state, man. No. Unless somebody dropped a dime and you have ballistics and all that other shit. You got the whole network of shit you got to get. They get in those states down there, those red states. Man, those states are called hick states for a reason. Okay? But this case here, she knew exactly who was going to be coming to her house and knocking on that door. She knew. Okay? It wasn't Mary Beth from church and all that other shit. It was that lady next door who she don't like and she didn't get along with. Period. Now, those DAs down there, maybe they do have a hard job. But then again, we talk about the state of Florida and their governor who ain't worth shit. Okay, so that's it. That's all I got to say.
I got you. Hey, Jerry, you got your hand up. What you got?
I can't raise it on the computer. So actually, when the kids came to try to get their iPad, according to what was said before, she told them to tell their mama to come and get it. I'm just saying.
30 years.
When we did that before, she told the kids, tell your mama to come and get it.
Go ahead, Chief.
She knew.
I had a question for Kyle. Because this happens a lot where neighbors don't get along, and a lot of the time it's a racial thing, and people will record it. You know, how their neighbors are acting or cursing at them all the time whenever they see them saying racial things. And then something, unfortunately, like this happens, but on that day, they didn't say anything racial. But there was a pattern of it being a racial problem. Can it still be charged as a racial incident?
Well, it's thank you for the question. It's a good one. It's an application that the people have to make to the court to prove that there is a basis for allowing this evidence in. And so it has to be compelling for the judge to allow something like that, because obviously, you know, within the law, we typically are confined to what happened that day. What were the circumstances that day? And so when you're trying to establish something like what you're suggesting there in your question, it has to be, the argument has to be that there's a pattern of behavior, that to prove their intent, we need this evidence. It's a difficult application to make. Is it impossible? No, we make them all the time. We win some of these, we lose some of these. It depends on so many factors. It have to, including the judge that's sitting, the case law that precedes it, so many things. But yes, it's possible that a court would allow that type of evidence to come in front of the jury, but it depends on many, many different factors. But it's an application that the prosecutor would make. We'd like to introduce this evidence. And of course, defense counsel is going to argue against it and say, no, it's prejudicial and it's not relevant, and all the typical opposition to that type of evidence. But it's the job of the prosecutor to bring that in front of the court and allow the court to then, make a ruling.
Yeah, Rich, you had something?
Yeah, for Kyle, based on the circumstance, forget the comments that were made, but the fact that she told the kids that came back to get the iPad to have your mom come get it, okay? And then you bring a gun to the door. Isn't that laying in wait?
It sounds like it. I don't know. We don't know that wasn't in front of the jury. I don't know. I don't know whether the kids testified and that type of evidence came out or not. She was found guilty, right? So this is not someone that was let off. So there was sufficient evidence of the manslaughter charge, and perhaps that factored into it. What was this all about? There has to have been some evidence to set the stage for the jury to understand how this woman came to her death.
Right.
So we don't know that wasn't evidence before the court, but yeah, I mean, all of this, anything that is evidence is is part of, that's all the pretrial hearings, the motions, all of this stuff is, and sometimes it's not done prior and it's at trial, and the judge will, the sidebars make these decisions, or take it under advisement and come back to it. All those kinds of things happen all the time. But yeah, I mean, these are applications that a prosecutor would make to the court to allow this type of evidence in, and then it's up to the judge to, to make a finding.
Right. I'm just clearing the air on anybody that's listening to us that if you bring a gun to the door, okay, and you're behind the door, there's no threat. You're bringing the gun to the door. You say, tell your mama to come get this, and the mama comes. You're laying in wait with that gun at the door, which is beyond manslaughter in my book. I mean, I don't know about the Florida law, but I think if you're laying in wait, that's murder.
Well, I think that's sufficient.
Right?
That was sufficient to defeat the self-defense claim that she was in imminent danger, right? She's behind a locked door. There's no imminent danger. They raise the issue of self-defense, and the prosecutor must prove that there was lack of self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt, and they were able to do that. And I'm sure a part of the fact that the door was there and locked was sufficient to defeat the self-defense claim. But you're right. I mean, it's she lay in wait for the woman. It sounds like she did, in fact, prompt her to come there and then shoot her when she got there.
Exactly. That's my point.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, it comes down to the old movie, Training Day. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And Dave even said, certain states, it might be harder, so you're better off, and you're standing on more solid ground to go with what we would look at as a lesser charge, reckless or just manslaughter, whatever, than a intentional murder. You have to be guided. The DA's office has to be guided by their laws, and like Kyle said, every state is different. We don't really know their laws or their verbiage on their laws, so we just have to assume that whatever evidence they had and like that, they went with the best charge. We as civilians may not understand or be happy with it, but we have to kind of rely on them that they're going to go, because if you charge too high and they beat it, now they go free. So is it better for you to charge something that you can prove better, or just kind of shoot for the stars and hit or miss? And the family's not going to be happy with that. At least she got charged with something. Am I right, Kyle?
Yes, exactly. I mean, sometimes people will say, well, why not go for the big charge, and then in the middle of the trial, or when you get to ask for lesser included charges and that sort of thing. Well, that's risky, because the judge may say no. You charge this, Miss Prosecutor, and now you want the jury to consider these lesser charges. You should have brought those lesser charges.
And on that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think I've had a case with a robbery like that. It's better to do like you just said, charge with the lower, and the judge can then decide to crank it up. Because I had a assault charge, and the girl was supposed to plead to it, and she fought it. And the judge looked at the girl's injuries, and they were so severe that the judge actually upgraded the charges. So it's safer for the judge to do it than for you to ask as the DA. And like I said, it just depends on the evidence that you have.
Yeah, it's the evidence is always, what a prosecutor looks to, and you want to go with your best shot, your best case, and not overcharge, because then you're just giving the defense, you're giving them their defense, and they're going to harp on it, and you may be left with nothing. So it's risky to go to that reach charge unless you have it and you're confident that you have it and you have evidence to support it, and then of course you go with your highest charge, but with the higher charge. But if you don't and it's shaky, you're risking walking away with nothing.
But I never heard of a sentence 30 years in prison or 30 years probation.
Yeah, that must be the Florida sentencing laws that allow for that kind of range based on that particular charge. There are charges where you can go from probation to to a jail sentence, but that is a it is a severe a range that the judge has available. And as the video said, now the racial talk and the background and all of those other things that were not allowed to be brought before the jury can be brought before the court, the sentencing court, and they will they can bring that out. So I'm sure they'll do all of that, and I hope that they would do all of that and have a better picture of who this woman was and what was really going on in the background and what her state of mind was at the time. So, but this obviously the laws in Florida allow for that kind of range of sentencing.
But the judge makes the decision, not a jury. They don't ask the jury.
I don't know. Some states the jury does make a decision. I'm not sure what happens in Florida, whether the judge would decide ultimately or take a recommendation from the jury, or the jury is deciding. I'm not sure what the law is there in Florida.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Jerry. Jerry.
I also wanted to add, in watching the as they were disclosing the sentencing and everything, one of the lady's children was also on the steps with mom when mom was shot and killed, and the kids are now going through significant therapy because. Yeah. And the family was saying that they were at least glad that they had found her guilty of something rather than her not being found guilty of anything. Because now the kids, they still got to deal with the trauma that the kids are going through.
Go ahead, Mark.
Forever.
Mark.
Yeah, I don't want to beat this to death, but just also remember, we're talking about the different laws in Florida. It's a stand your ground state. So that could have also played into, if you charged higher, that being an outlet that they could have taken if she felt like she was in fear. Like what your fear level in New York may be different than your fear level in Florida because it's a stand your ground state. If somebody walks up to you in Florida and threatens you, down there you're allowed to, defend yourself. We're up in New York. Until they do something, you're basically not. So it's a big difference, and the perspective is different. So that also just goes to show you the laws can be so different from state to state. That was it.
Well, just to put a pin in it, I just want to say a couple of things. Jerry brought that up. Was when these things happen, we always think of shooting on an island. And the kids need counseling. The neighbors are going to need counseling. And there are some situations we've had here on Long Island where the cops need counseling. We have to understand we want to pick that piece of metal up and pull that trigger for a momentary relief of a thought, or a momentary the ramifications of that is far beyond. Mark mentioned Training Day. That's one of my favorite movies. And my other favorite movie came in late. CJ, good to see you. That's my favorite movie right there. We're gonna move on.
Ain't that a rerun?
He said a rerun on Channel 9. Let's go back to Springfield. You guys remember the Sonia Massey shooting? Well, that officer was booked, and there was a camera. I thought this was interesting because there's a camera in the room where he's being processed. And I thought it'd be good for discussion. if we get a chance to see this, we don't really get a chance to see a person being processed. But this particular situation, the cameras are everywhere. Let's take a look.
Recorded on July 17th as former Sangamon County Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson is booked in the Menard County Jail. The Sheriff's Office released the video to 5 Your Side. It shows Grayson, who shot and killed Sonya Massey inside her Springfield, Illinois home last month, engaged in a conversation with sheriff's deputies. On July 6th, Massey calls 911 about a possible intruder inside her home. Grayson and another deputy responded. During their interaction, Grayson yelled at Massey as she held a boiling pot of water. He said he feared for his life and shot her 3 times, killing her. Prosecutors charged Grayson with multiple murder charges in Massey's death. In the jail video, Grayson talks about his case.
That's what the state's attorney agreed, or that's what the state's attorney made the charges. So they said this is for my own safety to put me in custody. So here I am.
Grayson has pleaded not guilty. In the video, he says he expects a short time behind bars.
Yeah. Well, this whole new safety act. That's why hopefully I'll be out tomorrow.
He was referring to his initial court appearance on July 18th. Grayson's lawyers argue the Menard County Jail is unable to treat Grayson's medical needs, which include having colon cancer. In court Friday, a judge ruled he will remain behind bars. Hours after the video release, Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell announced he's stepping down amid growing public outcry. Meantime, civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who's representing Sonya Massey's family, said in part, although the pain of losing her is still fresh, Sonya's family is going to work with the outgoing sheriff for the remainder of his tenure to help heal the community. Now, in a statement released today, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said he hopes a fresh start with new leadership will usher in a new era of reform and rebuild the trust lost between the Sangamon County community and the Sheriff's Office. Grayson returns to court later this month, Kelly.
All right, thanks, Rob.
And we're back. Cameras are everywhere. If those of you that we actually showed this a few weeks ago. And now we have the police officer being processed. Most of us, I'm gonna need you, Cheech, in a minute, that have seen process in jail. That wasn't normal. That's not the way processing goes, especially on any suspected loss of life. It's a different situation. I've been in, I've seen it. It's not that. He's talking about the fixes in their short time, these things that he's talking about. First of all, Kyle, you can help me. Not proper to be talking about. First of all, wait, listen. That's not proper to be talking about. But we want to talk about transparency and accountability, and that's not what this looks like. This looks like the fix is in. People are having conversations they shouldn't be. He shouldn't know this. He shouldn't know these things that he's. I know what his lawyer might be telling him is possible, but he's making certain quotes about judges and things that really should not be happening. And I don't think transparency and accountability is looking very good. And in law enforcement, we have to. Where they're in the jail, they know the cameras are on. It's a mindset. We always say this: people know their cameras on, but they act as though they're not. They act as though who would be, there's protocol. Cheech, help me out. You go. He can't go in my car with his hands cuffed in the front. I'm gonna lose days, which means you getting punished. He can't go in my car. He can't go in the back seat. He can't be sitting behind me. He has to be. I gotta call in the mileage when we start, when we finish. He has to be looked at by certain people. There are rules, and this wasn't it. Anybody got anything? I could ramble on forever because when I saw it, I was like, "It's ugly. This is worse than the shooting, if you ask me." Just he's sitting there in shorts. He's like he's going to the beach. I go into jail in full uniform with a gun on, and I'm not that comfortable. I'm uncomfortable whenever I go through the jail and the clink goes behind me. I get shook.
Yeah.
This guy is comfortable like he's going to the beach. Yeah. This is gonna happen. That's gonna happen. Derek, what do you got?
Basically the same thing you're saying, and I actually saw the full video a few days ago, and he was just treated with way too much respect. He was treated more like a comrade than a criminal, and there's a glaring difference in how one faction of people gets treated versus the other, and it just stands out, and it's so evident. Obviously, it's something that we've seen, but it's out there for everyone to see now. I mean, they were calling him by his first name. It was like they were old friends, you know.
Yeah, not a good look. Not a good look. Mark, what you got?
Wow.
Yeah, so I agree with Derek, but I'm going to also address it on the flip side. He was way too nonchalant and uncaring at his future. You know, had it be any of us sitting in his spot, we wouldn't be so chatty. I'd be worried to death. I'd be a nervous wreck. So the fact that he was just so nonchalant, he didn't care. He's like, you know, somebody said, hey, he looked like he was going to the beach. You know, hey, I got to do this. I got to run to the store. But once I'm done, you know, I'm good to go. That's really what bothered me, you know, was his attitude. You know, here he just committed a crime and now he's facing a serious charge. And he's just like, all right, I'm good. That's what bothered me.
D, I don't think he spoke to his lawyer before that. Because even a dumb lawyer would have told him to shut up. Don't say a damn thing in there, you know. Everything's being recorded. Remember that. I don't think he spoke to a lawyer. If he did, must have been Fred Sanford.
And who's wearing a shorts and t-shirt? And he's a law enforcement officer himself. We don't know. On a Friday afternoon, I'm putting on everything I can because that's not the way you go to court. That's the way you going to the beach. What you got, Dave?
Yeah, you guys said that, man. It was like it's like it's like he's expecting the jury to just acquit him, and it was like he's friends with those guys at that jail. You know what I mean? That come on in, buddy. You ain't gotta wear your jeans and nothing like that. Just come on in, we process you, get you out of here. You know? And I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute, man. It was like he's expecting the jury to say, "Oh, you're fucking innocent. You didn't do anything wrong. So what? She could have hit you with the pot of water. We don't know." But meanwhile, if you go back to the incident, the other cop that was there looked at him in horror. Looked at him in horror.
Uh-oh, Dave, I think we lost you. I think yeah, we lost Dave. Dave, you back?
I have a question too, though. Until
ahead,
Dave. Wasn't this the same officer that had been like in 4, 5, 6, 7 different?
Yeah.
In the last 3 or 4 years, different police departments. And hey, you already know he got a brass
what happened?
hair.
Yeah,
Hey,
you went out, Dave.
Oh, I said the other cop that during the initial incident looked at him in horror after he shot the woman. Looked at him in horror, like, and then the guy tried to explain to her, "I didn't want to get hit. It could have been dangerous. She threw that water in my face." And the other cop just looked at him like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Look at the other cop's face during the whole incident, man. The guy's like, "Motherfucker, you just cost me my family too, you stupid fuck." You know what I mean? But it was like he knew those jailers, man. Like they were pals of his, probably drinking buddies. And he came, "Oh, come down in your shorts and put your G-string on. It's fine. Come on down." You know what I mean? Come on, man. That's ridiculous, man. What state was that?
Illinois.
Yeah, man. He knew those jailers, man. He probably been there a few times, bringing in people for doing nothing. So I'm like, come on, man. He's not taking it serious, man. Because no other cop, even Derek Chauvin, didn't walk in a courtroom like that, or walk in the processing plant like that. Come on, man. He knew those guys. They were drinking buddies and shit, and he.
All right, Dave, you're going again, man. All right, go ahead, Derek. When Dave comes back, we'll get him in.
Yeah, it was brought up that the other cop was in horror, but when Grayson pulled his gun out, the other cop pulled his gun out too, and that's one of the things that puzzled me because the lady wasn't a threat to either one of them, but now you're standing behind your partner with your gun out, pointed in his direction. The whole thing made no sense to me. Like, I'm not going to pull my gun out because another person on the scene has their gun out. I'm going to pull my gun out if there's a threat. And if there's no threat, it needs to stay locked in. So, you know, I thought, you know, like that was an odd part to me as well.
Absolutely. Dave, you got anything else, man? You keep getting cut off, man. I want to make sure you get
Nah, man. No, I'm good. I'm good, man. It was just a crock of shit. And those jailers should be kicked in their ass. Fuck them.
Everybody should be losing days.
Definitely. And how many times it take to shoot somebody with a pot of water? You shoot them 3 times. The first shot, pot of water should have been dropped. You ain't got to worry about no return fire. You shoot a person 3 times.
That shit happened once that I remember with Eleanor Bumpers. Remember that case back in the way back?
Yeah. I remember that.
And she actually was cooking lye on the stove, but she had mental issues. Yeah, man.
Lye is a whole lot different than water, but
it sure is.
He shot this woman in the face.
He said he was going to do it.
After saying he was going to shoot her in the face.
So we just talked about
she cowered down.
We just talked about premeditated. How much more premeditated is that? I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna shoot you in the face, and then I shoot you in the face.
Yeah.
3 times.
And the supervisor's like, "Where's the gun?" I like when he comes in and goes, "Where's the gun? Where's the gun at?"
Is that an attitude of entitlement?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Fucking guy walking around like he part of, like I remember the fucking Beach Boys and shit. Come on, man.
Yeah. He walked in there with the attitude, just like if we got sent to training. Oh yeah, you know, Dave, you got to go down to training, you know, at such and such. Okay, I'll go. And you go, you do your training, and you come back. That was like he was just so nonchalant about it.
Hey, Cheech, unmute yourself, man. What you got?
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, that is not the way we do things, but it depends on the case. I'm gonna be honest. If it's an officer that we're accustomed to seeing and, you know, have interactions before, and it's something like a DWI, you know, domestic, because we've had those, yeah, you might be a little bit more lenient towards the person. But a charge like this, no way. Because there's a risk that this officer, but Mark hit it on the head with this particular officer where privilege, you know. But any other officer, I think we would take as a high risk because they know they're facing something huge. They're facing a long time in jail. So what's the issue there? Potential for suicide. But, you know, they might go for your gun. They might, you know, try to take their own lives right there. So you something like that, no, you're not going to treat him that way because of that, you know, the risk of it escalating to something. Now, you know, something, a lesser charge, I'm not going to lie, you know, it's kind of like a courtesy. You know, it happens. But that would not have, at least me personally, no. But that's privilege for you. I mean, we know that he had some type of connection with the chief or the sheriff. So probably said, hey, listen, we just got to go through the process. You know, we're going to book you real quick, but you'll be out in no time. You know, let us handle this. Let us just do everything for the media and, you know, and then we'll take care of you. So I think that's why he went in with that attitude.
Okay, Cheech. Mark, what you got?
Yeah, I agree with Cheech. You know, there have been times when I've had to process prisoners, you know, and just because I may, regardless of what they're charged with, you know, I'm just there for the paperwork. I'm not there. I'm not the judge. I'm not the one that's going to, you know, give you the punishment. So if I can have a conversation with you, keep it smooth, do the paperwork and get you out of my face, and that's what it takes is me talking nice to you and blah blah blah. That bothers me less. What bothers me more is, like I said, the guy's attitude. You know, the officers that are processing him or the sheriffs that were processing him. You want to make small talk. You want to treat them like, you know, whatever. That really doesn't bother me. I'm not really that annoyed at there, because they're there, you know, as long as they're processing and doing what they're supposed to. And Cheech brought up a good thing. Like, if you can keep this guy talking and you know it's being filmed, and just get him processed, you know. And suicide, I didn't think of, but Cheech brought it out, which was on point. You know, this guy could be a suicide. So you also want to feel him out to see where his head's at, because once again, what Cheech said, you know, the guy could go for a gun. He could go for something on the desk to stab, you know, himself or others. So keep it nice, keep it cool, process him, and move on. You know, and we don't want to, as processing officers, even police officers, we don't want to make it personal. You know, it's, hey, you hear, you talk about it all the time. You know, hey, I'll take you to lunch. I'll do this. I'll do that. You know, let's just get through the process. Let's make it smooth, and then I drop you off. Now you're somebody else's headache.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Before we move on, anybody got anything else? I saw, I think Jerry had a hand up for a minute. No, Jerry? No, Jerry? No. You good? You good? Okay. All right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna go out to Rich's neck of the woods. Rich, can we come out to California? Our next video is, I've been on both sides of this. So I thought it a good video for us to see. Chip's officer, a motorcycle officer, is doing his motorcycle job, and this occurred. I don't want to give too much of it away, but this occurred, and this is how it went down.
Into action to save a CHP officer. Viral video showing a Good Samaritan running in to help, now part of a CHP investigation. Thanks again for joining us here on ABC 7 Hulu and wherever you stream. I'm David Ono.
And I'm Ellen Leyva. Today we're hearing from the man in that video about why he felt compelled to help.
And now News reporter Christian Cordero shares his story and the dramatic video.
Everardo Navarro was on his way to an event in Orange County on Friday when a confrontation between a man and a CHP officer,
I was just assuming the officer was making an arrest in that moment,
escalated. This video is part of the police investigation. The CHP says an officer was walking back to his patrol vehicle after giving the man a verbal warning for bending freeway signs on an on-ramp. Navarro saw the two fighting with the officer in a headlock, so he pulled over and without thinking, ran to help.
when I actually get there, for a split second, I didn't know what to do. I just punched the guy in the ribs.
It didn't work. Worried the officer would lose control of his weapon, Navarro focused on freeing the headlock, and he did. It wasn't until later that he realized all of the different ways that day could have gone wrong.
I was not able to take it out of my mind.
You have kids.
I was going to a place, and all I can think is my kids.
He hasn't quite figured out why he had that instinct, but the CHP is sure glad he did.
It's not very often that you see something like that. Usually it's people just recording and standing by. But I just want to thank those 3 Good Samaritans for helping out our officer.
Navarro is thankful too.
I jumped out of my car because of him, but at the end, I was thankful that everybody was okay, including the suspect.
It ended with an arrest. The suspect was booked on assault with a peace officer and resisting arrest charges into the Orange County Jail. I'm Christian Cordero, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Always takes a second for us to come back. Okay, we're back. Cheech, what do you got?
Wait a minute. Was that a Latino helping out a police officer? Yeah. See, we're not all cartel members or gang members. He didn't pull out a phone to record what was going on. He jumped in without hesitation to help, which was what everybody out there should do. That I applaud that man. And like you said, he didn't think about it. He just saw someone that needed help and jumped in. He did the right thing. I love that. And I love that it was a Latino.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I was going to thank you for that, Cheech, because I was thinking the same thing. And I hope Donald Trump saw that video and the rest of those ass wipes. But anyway, that guy's a damn hero, and he got emotional because you could tell he's a caring man. He has a heart, and he cares about people. The man got emotional during the interview, okay? You know, he didn't want to see anybody die or get hurt. And people like that, man, let me tell you something, man, I'll pat him on the back and shake the damn hand every day of the year. The guy's a damn hero, and I'm sure he's going to get an award or whatever. But, and I'm sure that those cops are going to reach out to him. Maybe, hopefully, they'll develop a friendship and keep it moving. You know, his kid's playing with mine, my kid's playing with yours. That type of relationship. You know what I mean? So I'm happy for the officer. It's going to be all right. And think about it. The guy was a psychopath because all he was getting was a warning. So you knew he was nuts, okay, when you hear the story. But I'm you know what, Cheech, man, I'm glad. I hope that should be a training tape for Donald Trump and the MAGA maggots. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, you know, I definitely appreciate what he did, and you know, more civilians need to do that. But before we pat him on the back too much, Cheech, we're gonna check his birth certificate just to make sure he was Latino.
Okay, man. No problem. No problem. You got my birth certificate. I got it. You know.
We're wondering about you too, JT. You're next on the list.
Man, I all American, man. All American.
He could have one drop. It only takes one drop to make him black. I'm just saying.
No
one
drop on me. No drop.
Don't study my English.
I might be white.
Go ahead, Cheech.
He just didn't take his hand down, I think.
Yeah. I guess Cheech froze. Go ahead, Cheech. You there?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
just wanted to add also. I just wanted to add that you see how quick a situation can change. I mean, he gave him a verbal warning, you know, and walking back to his bike. I mean, you can never turn your back on people nowadays. You never know. And you see how quick that escalated for no reason, you know. So you always got to be on guard at all times.
They wouldn't turn it back on us. They wouldn't turn it back on you, Cheech, or me. I said this a couple of weeks ago, last show. They're too comfortable with them, but they wouldn't turn it back.
Nope.
Nah, man.
I just wanted to, if anybody's got anything, just put your hand up. But I just wanted to say a couple of things. I said before, I was on both sides of that. I was the officer that was arresting one guy, and the other three people decided so people stopped. There were so many cops that stopped going by. Your wrestling you had two I don't want to say in a headlock, but I had to. I won't tell you how I had them, but I had to, and I needed, you know, it was great to see another body, and I also think for our society, it's good to see that's out there. I do a safety speech for some college students that spend time here, and I share a video of one of our guys in a pursuit here in the city. And there were so many undercovers sitting in the car, up in the vestibule, up on the roof. He had so much help. He was like, where are these guys coming from? It's good to know from a law enforcement standpoint, there are people out there to help. Not only civilians and off-duty cops, and you're going to have help if you're going to be out there. And I've stopped to help. I always look. I slow down and get in the right lane, and I do the slow walk. You know, guys know what it is, and I look. And I'm looking at the cop's body language. I'm not really looking at the guy too much. But if he looks like he needs a hand, you know, hey, I know a lot of guys say, oh, I don't want to get shot. Hey, I'm not driving by and then reading when I got home that, you know, something bad happened to somebody in blue. I'm not doing that. That's gonna mess with my life. So if I gotta stop and take chances or whatever, hopefully I have enough tools to be able to fare good with that. What you got, Rich?
Yeah, the other side of the coin is, I mean, this guy was a hero, helping the cop out. The actual cop being open to let somebody come help him, not knowing whether that person's friend or foe. You're on the ground and somebody comes running towards the mix, you're entangled. You know, is that person coming to help, or do I have to do something else, or look out for my gun? Or there's a lot of, there's two sides to it. You just got to look out for yourself, and getting some help is very cool. If that guy wasn't coming to help, I'm coming to help the criminal, now you got another problem, So this was a good situation that worked out well. And, good Samaritans can come through and really help us out. But then you never know who's coming towards you.
Good point. Good point. And see that you got Cheech turned up. Go ahead, Cheech.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on the flip side of that also, if you do get involved, once other officers get there, just be careful, because the other officers arriving do not know that you are there helping. So, step back, put your hands up, let them handle it, let them know right away that you're helping. Hopefully the officer will let them know too. But just be aware of that the officers responding do not know what side you're on.
Yeah, that's good, Cheech. And I just wanted to say, I'm going to say I'm sorry. But if Derek is on the bottom and there's three guys on top, I'm gonna have to say I'm sorry to those three guys, at least initially. Derek is gonna be or Mark is gonna be my first concern, and I gotta make sure he's all right first. And I might not be so nice to those guys. And if you're in that situation and you did help and you are a good Samaritan, and we're glad you stopped. But I want you to understand those responding officers. I hear on the radio, officer needs assistance. The only guy I'm really protecting at that moment is the guy in uniform. And at least initially, Cheech said it best. This is my thing. Put your hands up. Let me see your hands. I don't worry about you. I'm not worried about guns and knives. I worry about hands on guns and knives. If I see your hands, at least glimpsing at you, I can do what I got to do. I don't have to worry about you. So that was a good point. Just to make sure if you're helping out, then nobody else gets hurt. But also understanding those cops, because everybody's showing up from every possible department, every region, lights and siren. And I'm telling you, when I hear officer needs I'm on 10. I'm actually on 27. I'm thinking about what it's gonna go. So I'm really looking for that guy in the uniform, and everybody else get away from him, and then let him tell me that guy's help, that's friend, that's foe, that's this one, that's that one. This is the bad guy. That's kind of how we figure it out. And I know when we're called, and this is a good opportunity, we're called. You get that call and you show up. We don't know who anybody is, man. I keep saying that every week. Everybody goes, well, I called and I own the house and I'm the cousin of the lady. We don't know that. We know lady called, man called, cop in trouble. That's all we know. And now as we're pulling people out the pile, we're learning as we're pulling. And I'm not pulling nice. I'm pulling and learning. Get off the guy with the uniform. That's really the only thing I'm worried about. So I just want people to be clear. And people have said, oh, you guys are real mean when you got there. Yeah, I get real mean, but I get real nice quick. Once I realize you are part of the solution and not the problem, I get nice. But that ugly part that you saw, that's I gotta get him off rich. I gotta get him. I'm not gonna sit there and be trying to assume, excuse me, sir, are you a friend or foe? That's not how it works. So I just thought that was a pretty good video. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, D, and it's not just to civilians helping police officers. If we as police officers who are off duty or retired and we're doing the same thing, we know that when the police respond, we have to identify ourselves as quick as we can so we don't get caught in the crossfire. So you as civilians, we appreciate your help. But when the police come, just be prepared to at least acknowledge to them, hey, I'm trying to help this officer out. And like you said, step back, put your hands up, and let the cops do what they're supposed to do. When my house got burglarized, I was going through it. And, I had to identify myself and give my description to the police that were responding so they don't show up and see me walking around my own house with a gun. Mistakes happen. And like Dee said, responding cops, they don't know you. They don't know that you live there. I live there. But you know what? Hey, listen, I'm off-duty cop. At the time, I'm an off-duty cop coming to my house. This is how I'm dressed. you know, because I'm still searching my own house, waiting for them to show up. So, you know, it's just be mindful. You know, don't assume, because when you assume, stuff goes sideways.
And another point, JT, I'm coming to you, and I just wanted to we have our law professional, our law expert on here. She can help me out. There's a section in the criminal procedure laws, the unarrest section, and I made good use of that while I was working. I might put the handcuffs on you, tight, but I'm gonna take them off too. I had to make a decision. I gotta calm everything down. You might be screaming because of whatever the case may be. If you're not cooperating, there's a section in the law that allows me to say, okay, not him. I'm simplifying it. It's called the unarrest section. I think it's 3020, 13020. I think it is. I don't know. I used to know it when I was working. But we had the unarrested section, and we would put it right in the blotter. Because I put cuffs on 7 people and only one guy got arrested. And never heard anything about it. It's just understanding we get a call, male, woman, the lady that lives there. It's very little information, and you have to become adept at discerning what's going on. But a lot of times, because this one's upset, you yelling, you gotta get a pair of cuffs put on you, because I can't do my job and you hollering and screaming. I might put you in the car for a second and bring you out the car, uncuff you. I don't know what to tell you.
It's called investigative detention.
There you go.
That's it. Yeah.
I'm gonna be sorry. I might buy you dinner. I might buy you dinner. Don't be mad at me. I'm trying to do my job. Go ahead, JT.
Yeah, everything you're saying is 100 on 100. But you did say something that some of y'all might be scared you're going to get shot. Ain't nobody want to get shot. Nobody. I mean, if you find somebody want to get shot, send them over here. You know, I shoot them for free. But nobody wants to get shot. If you go with the intentions, I might get shot and I might not. You go up there hesitating, like Mark say. You go up there to attack. You go up there to help. You don't go up there to worry about getting shot. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get shot. So don't worry about getting shot. Go up there and prevent from what's happening.
This is the truth, Dave.
Okay, CJ, what you got on this? I like that. What you got?
I'm just laughing at JT because he's right. If you scared, because there's a lot of cops out there that are scared.
Yeah,
and that's the real reason why these people are getting shot for no reason, because they scared.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all recall a couple of years ago, that woman had to pull the guy over on the highway. He was on a freeway, parkway, whatever. The boy had his hands up in the air and she still shot the man. So, why? The helicopter recorded her shooting him. It's just ridiculous. A lot of people that have this job are really fearful of what they do. And so in their defense, if they will, the first thing they do is grab their guns because they're afraid. That's just what it is. You can't do this job in an afraid manner. You got to know that I'm going to go in here fighting and I'm coming out fighting, because we all coming out.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, the old saying, a scared dog will bite you quicker than a mean dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about the hiring practices last week, and you're getting a lot of people out there scared. And the first thing they do is go for the gun. And I was having sitting in a little round table like this and talking to guys, and I can really count the times I seriously had my gun out of the holster if it wasn't firearms, or I can count. I don't have that many fingers. That wasn't a thing, and my joke used to be, I need a holster for this. That gun to get me I need a holster for this thing. So when we're getting more and more law enforcement officers out there, and the first thing they do is, I got a gun. There was another, we don't have time for it. Maybe next week we can do it. But we had another video where a guy, that was his thing. I'm gonna make you do it because I have a gun on you. I want to be clear. I'm gonna make you do something because I have a gun on you. That's coercion. That's not policing. That's a violation of law. Your gun can't make, that's a robbery if you take a guy's wallet while you got a gun in your hand. That's a felony, partner. So we have to be. Go ahead, Derek. I'm getting too far. Go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, I'm of the same mindset, and I think I've said it on here before. We were trained that our guns are supposed to come out when there is a threat of either severe physical safety or a threat of death. And we've now come to the age where people use their guns as tools of compliance.
That's it.
If you don't do what I say, I'm going to pull my gun out and point it at you.
Shoot you in the face.
Right. And in some cases, they make the threat. In some cases, they make good on the threat. But they use it as a tool of compliance, and that is 100% against the law.
Absolutely.
So we used to do a exercise. I'm gonna get you Mark next, and with that pulling out that gun was a last resort. And the instructors used to let somebody pull it out, and they had the section. Now what? Everybody in the room would yell, "Now what?" And
right
now you got it out. Now what? You gonna put it back? You gonna give it to him? What you gonna do? You gonna shoot him? Because this is not a gun out situation. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, Derek made a good point, and so did you. I blame Hollywood, and I blame the departments for not emphasizing what Derek just said as far as when you pull that gun out. You have to emphasize that to civilians joining a police department. And unfortunately, we all are guilty of watching Hollywood. In Hollywood, they whip that gun out and, how many bullets do I have? Dirty Harry type stuff. And it's all entertaining, but it's not real life.
Absolutely.
There's a big difference between real police work and what people see on television. And the outcomes are different. They get it wrong in Hollywood. It's cut. Let's shoot that one again. That's wrong. In real life, it's go to court, see Kyle, pray she had a bad day, and you can escape with your life and your freedom. But chances are she ain't having a bad day. She's on point. So, you're in trouble. But you have to separate Hollywood from reality. A lot of stuff we see, like I said, it's entertaining, but it's not real. And people need to be taught that. So these departments, you really got to train your guys better, and you got to really emphasize when to pull a gun out, when not. Indeed, you've said it numerous times. You pull that gun out, now you got one hand compared to their two.
Yep.
You're already at a disadvantage.
And it ain't your good hand.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say something for that Hollywood comment you had. I watch movies. I love movies, and I watch a lot of police movies because I love police movies. And people don't like watching movies with me because this is what it sounds like. Nah, that wouldn't happen. Now the paperwork. Nah, we wouldn't see him again for 6 months. And they're like, "What are you talking about? He's out the next day. Get out of here." The next day. You know how much paperwork for doing that? Go ahead, Derek.
Clint Eastwood. I'm sorry, Derek. Clint Eastwood. He'd have lost his job the first day he got involved in something.
The first day.
Sorry, Derek. Hey.
No problem. And right before you said it, Mark, where you said now you have one hand instead of two, I actually wrote down on my notes that it could endanger you. Because if it gets physical, now not only do you have your weak hand to deal with, but you have to try to struggle to put your gun away if it's a case where you can't shoot. Also, if a regular civilian pulls out a gun and points it at someone, the charge is menacing. So it should be the same for us. And I don't know how, obviously people are on the feed here went to different academies, but in my career, I didn't see a lot of people needlessly pointing their guns at people. It just wasn't a thing. Obviously when you go on a gun run, people get there, the guns are out, but I didn't see people pointing their guns at people out of anger or out of forced compliance. It just wasn't a thing where I was. But it's one of the most unsafe things you can do, and you're unsafe as well if you do it.
All right, guys, we're coming to the end, so we have our Kyle/Quiet Storm moment. We always have a moment at the end of our show to show some good stuff that let's take a look.
when he saw a homeless woman he hadn't noticed. A police officer named Michael Rivers, 29 years old, was patrolling with the Goldsboro Police Department when he saw a homeless woman he hadn't noticed before. He drove by and greeted her, but then he saw something on her shirt that made him stop immediately. The shirt said, "Homeless, the fastest way of becoming a nobody." Officer Rivers felt compelled to help. He went to the nearest pizza place, got pepperoni and cheese pizzas, and returned to the woman. Sitting down next to her on the grass, he shared his lunch with her. More than just sharing food, Officer Rivers took the time to talk to her and learn about her. The woman's name was Michelle, and she had a 12-year-old daughter fighting liver cancer and a 23-year-old son. On that day, Officer Rivers wanted to make Michelle smile and let her know that she wasn't a nobody to him. He saw beyond her homelessness and connected with her as a person facing challenges.
Uh-oh. Yeah, took it a minute. As Jim would say, I wish Jim was here, he would say that's every day. We could probably go around the room and we'd all have 100 or so, 100 or so stories. We don't even think about it. I wish I had all the money I spent when I was out there on lunch and breakfast, and I might have as much money as, say, Derek or CJ or somebody if I did that. Anyway, we're at the end of our hour and a half. Our fearless leader hasn't come back. So I know people are going to be watching this, and just for our edification, I'm going to do a little something different that might, I don't know, we'll see how it works. I'm going to record this when we're done, and then we'll upload it. I can upload it to YouTube. I don't think, because it's an hour and a half, we can upload it to Facebook, but I'm going to try. And if we could I'm going to put it on my feed. I think I'm buddies and friends with everybody here. If I'm not, it's my name, Darnley Schoon. It's only one of me in the world. So if you get on my feed, just share it, and it'll go to YouTube, and we can see it that way. And I think Don wants to try to start doing this on YouTube. And just so y'all know, that's gonna blow this up. That's just a whole different, people put in police and we come popping up. That's what's gonna come popping up. So I'm gonna try to do that, just to change it. As Don would say, he's praying for everybody here. He's always praying for everybody here. He's out in Alaska somewhere. I shared a story. I was out there a bunch of years ago. He's in one of the same places I was. It's different up there. Hopefully he'll be back next week. If not, I'm hoping we'll be back next week. So just keep that in mind. Keep in touch with us. And as usual, we had a good show.
Hey, D, the Rev left a message for CJ to pray us out.
Oh, CJ, you want to pray us out?
Why not? Father, we thank you for yet another experience with each other. Father, we ask now that as we close this forum, that you will keep us all together. You will keep us all safe. We will wake up every day as promised in your word. God, we thank you. And as we go through this day, God, we pray that you allow us to see tomorrow. Lord, we ask this in the name of your son, Jesus. Look out for those that are in bereaved families, those that are traveling, those that are having fun. And God, I love you. I love you. I love you. And I ask this in the name of your son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Y'all good.